Finding a really good under eye concealer that covers well and hydrates while not emphasizing dryness, texture, or fine lines as it wears throughout the day can be difficult. So today I'm reviewing several under eye concealers I've been testing. I have concealers at all price points and coverage levels. I'll show you how they apply and wear on me and give you my thoughts on each. I've always had dark circles, but as I've gotten older, the dryness, texture, and fine lines have increased, which is perfectly normal, but it also means I've gotten pickier and pickier about what goes on my under eye area, which is why I love putting together and doing these concealer roundup videos for you. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. Let's get into these concealers so you can see if any of them might work for you. Today, we're going to go in order from most expensive to least, but not according to price tag, because you can really tell what you get for your money when you break concealers down by price per quarter ounce. I did that for each of these concealers. So that is the order we're going to go in, is most expensive when you look at it according to price per quarter ounce down to the least expensive. Now, if you've never watched me before, it is important that you know a little bit about me before I get into these reviews. I am almost 48 years old. I have dry under eyes with some fine lines and texture and dark circles. I'm not sure what my under eye area looks like today in the camera because I'm testing out a product right now for my next concealer roundup. I've already started. So if it looks terrible, don't judge. Sometimes that happens. There's good, there's bad. Now, my anatomy is just prone to creasing right under my lash line, no matter what a concealer says. Even if it says it's the most crease-proof concealer in the world, I will crease there if I don't set with some kind of powder, some kind of translucent powder. I need to do that. You may not need to, but I do show you what these products, what these concealers look like unset as well as set. Now, if you think you are my concealer or my foundation shade match twin, I keep running lists of all of the foundations and concealers I've tried over on my blog, and I will have those listed and linked for you along with all the products I'm sharing and wearing today down in my description box and in my top pinned comment. So let's get started with the first concealer, which is from Valentino. This is the Very Valentino 24-hour wear hydrating concealer. It is $35 for 0.22 ounces. That breaks down to $39.77 per quarter ounce. There are 50 shades, and I'm in shade Light Neutral 22. It is vegan and cruelty-free. This has a thin, watery consistency that blends out extremely easily, and it's supposed to give a second skin creaseless finish that lasts all day. And because of the hydrating properties, it's supposed to be ideal for combination to dry skin. It has caffeine and vitamin E to brighten and revitalize, and it has Valentino's Roma Light Complex, which are these light reflecting, color boosting pearls that enhance your skin's natural radiance. Now, the coverage of any concealer we talk about is going to be dependent on the tool we apply it with and how much we build it. And you're always going to be able to get more coverage if you wear a corrector underneath, especially if you do have more discoloration under your eyes. So I would say this concealer gives light to medium coverage depending on how much you build it and what you use to apply it. I like to use my finger because I get the most coverage from it that way, but this is a concealer that I like to wear a corrector underneath because of my discoloration, and I get more coverage from it that way. I normally wear corrector underneath my concealers. I know we all have individual issues with our under eye area. I have hollows and discoloration, and wearing a corrector just helps when it comes to any concealer for me. This feels very lightweight and very hydrating and has a nice radiant skin-like finish before setting. After setting, it still looks extremely skin-like and has a more natural finish, and it wears extremely well throughout the day. Now, if this had a little bit more coverage, actually, if this had the same amount of coverage as a concealer I'm going to talk about here in a minute, it would be the perfect concealer. The hydration is there, the skin-like finish is there. I love a concealer that looks like skin. I just would love to have more of a medium full, buildable up to full concealer in terms of coverage. But this is a medium coverage concealer that I surprisingly have been reaching for a lot because the texture is beautiful, the finish is beautiful, and when I wear a corrector with it, it layers over it so pretty, and I can get more coverage from it, and it just works really well for casual daytime looks. So if you have dry or mature skin and you want feather, lightweight coverage that looks like skin, it doesn't look like concealer, and you want more of a medium coverage concealer, this is truly, truly beautiful. Next, we have a concealer that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about. This is from IT Cosmetics. This is the Bye Bye Dark Spots Concealer Plus Serum, which also works for the under eye area. So this is $30 for 0.22 ounces, which breaks down to $34.09 per quarter ounce. There are 18 shades. I have light neutral 22 and medium neutral 33. Light neutral 22 is what I wear under my eyes. Medium neutral 33 works better for my face. And you can see there is a doe foot applicator and then a little brush if you want to use that to blend it out. This has a very thin consistency that blends out very easily. And this is a serum concealer that's supposed to fade dark spots and help with other skin texture concerns over time. It's got 2% niacinamide to help with that. It's got hyaluronic acid that helps plump and supports skin elasticity. It's also got caffeine, which helps your skin look brighter, and it's vegan and cruelty free. Now, I personally don't find this has quite enough coverage to do much of anything on my face, even though this is supposed to be a serum concealer made for the face. I just found it really didn't cover much of anything. I mean, if you wanted to use it maybe under foundation as a treatment to see if it fades anything over time, that would be one thing, but it really just didn't do a lot of concealing for my face. Now, for the under eye area, I feel it gives light, medium to medium coverage depending on how you blend it out. I prefer to use my fingers to give a little bit more coverage. It feels very lightweight, and I feel the finish that you get when it's set and not set is smooth, skin-like, flattering, and very natural. This, like the previous concealer, is a concealer that I do prefer to use a corrector underneath just because it is a medium coverage concealer. That, again, is personal preference. There are days where this wears beautifully all day, and there are other days where I would get some fading at my inner corner, and I think you can see that in this clip. There's just a little bit of fading at my inner corner. I don't really have rhyme or reason for when that happens, but it never emphasizes dryness or texture when I wear it, which is nice. So for that reason, I think it's really nice for anyone who has dry or mature under eyes, or under eyes with texture or fine lines, or anyone who likes medium to light coverage concealer. It's worth giving it a shot. I live in a very hot, humid environment, and that could have had something to do with how it was wearing at my inner corners. If you live in a different climate than I do, you may have better luck or more consistency from the wear. I was actually pleasantly surprised with this, and I'm surprised I haven't heard more about it. My main complaint about this has to do with the packaging. It's curved on the bottom. I don't know anyone who doesn't want the option to set their product down and have it be upright. Someone explained this to me. It's just odd. So anytime, I'm concealing, I have to lay the product down sideways, which is really odd. That is a weird complaint, I guess, but the product inside is nice. This is one of the most highly requested concealer reviews I've had in a while. This is the Natasha Denona Hy-Glam Serum Concealer and corrector. Did you know that there's a corrector that goes along with this concealer? Because most people are talking about the concealer, but I haven't heard much about the corrector. I am mentioning a little bit about this in this video, but to be on the lookout for a corrector roundup, I just wanted to go ahead and put this in here since they do go together. By the way, one thing that I have not mentioned, and I meant to say up front, is that even though in most of these reviews I'm showing you one typical day, I have tested all of these out multiple days to come up with my verdict. I don't just review things one day. Just in case you've never watched me before and don't know how I do things, I wanted to let you know that. So this retails for $30 for 0.25 ounces, which breaks down to $30 per quarter ounce. There are 50 concealer shades. I am in shade N3. There are 6 corrector shades. I'm in shade C2 in the corrector. They're vegan and cruelty-free and have a very fluid consistency that blends out extremely easily. Now, on this particular day, I don't have foundation on my face like I normally do when I apply my concealer. I'm completely barefaced, so I feel like the concealer looks a little bit more evident. I just wanted to make that note. On your right side, I'm applying the corrector powder underneath the concealer, and on your left side, I'm applying just the concealer so you can see the differences between the two sides. There are a lot of claims here, so I was expecting a lot when I first went in. It's supposed to brighten, depuff, firm, be collagen boosting, ultra lightweight, silky, blendable, flexible, long lasting, transfer and crease proof, hydrating, and give long lasting, natural, full coverage, luminous matte finish. There are high tech active ingredients that work instantly and over time to brighten dark circles, reduce puffiness, and improve the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. I think that's fantastic. And it's also made with biomimetic pigments and texture perfecting microspheres for flawless airbrush results with a weightless, natural look and a supremely flexible feel. The corrector and concealer work really beautifully together. I do get slightly more coverage when I use them together. The concealer works really nice alone too. It does work well with other correctors. I would say it gives medium to full, very natural skin-like coverage that feels lightweight and looks extremely smoothing, exactly what I love. And it's pretty self-setting. This is as close to creaseless as I've ever come. I got a little excited. I thought I was not gonna have to set this, but after doing some other things with my makeup, I did slightly crease right under my lash line. So I did have to set with just a light dusting of translucent powder, but I only needed a small amount, which was really nice. A lot of you may not need to set this at all. This feels very lightweight and gives a radiant skin-like natural finish before it's set, which I think looks more full coverage and evident here because I don't have foundation on my face. I almost think you can tell a little bit better how natural it looks once my makeup is finished. Everything just looks natural and smooth and really nice. Now, every day I wore this, it lasted throughout the entire day, and some days it wore really nicely and looked pretty good all day. Other days, I looked so extremely dry and crepey under my eyes. I could not get over it. I was actually stunned at how I could go from looking so smooth and natural and nice a few hours earlier. And even when I would check in several hours after application, after setting it, at the end of the day, I would just look terrible, so much older than I actually am after trying this many times and having this happen so many of those times. I settled on my verdict, and then I went to look at reviews to see what other people were saying. I watched some videos, and I did see several people that had this happen, but the majority of the reviews are glowing. So the only thing that I can think is that they're either not having to set at all, maybe it is the powder, I don't know, but I'm using so little, and it normally doesn't do that with other concealers. I find that a little unusual, or I have to think that I'm older than other people that are using this, or maybe I just have drier under eyes. And this is the concealer that I was referring to in my Valentino review, because if this concealer had this coverage, it would be perfect. Or if this concealer just wore as well as Valentino does. If you could just combine these two, it would be so perfect. But there are people that are having great luck with this. Perhaps if your under eyes are not as dry as mine, if you have maybe normal to oily under eyes, or if you don't have to set your under eye area, or maybe you only have to wear this for 3 to 4 hours, you may really love this. Clearly, there are people out there. It just did not work for me. Let's talk about the new Tarte Shape Tape Radiant Concealer. This is the new line extension in the Shape Tape line. It retails for $31 for 0.33 ounces, which breaks down to $23.49 per quarter ounce. There are 37 shades, and I'm in the shade Light Beige. This is number 22B. It's vegan and cruelty-free and blends out extremely easily. It has that classic big doe foot that Shape Tape is known for. And this has a lot of skincare ingredients like vegan collagen, ginseng, green tea, squalane, various oils, niacinamide that help your under eyes in general and just your texture look brighter and smoother quickly and over time. It's also got licorice root to help brighten dark circles and color correct. It's also got some anti-inflammatory, hydrating, and plumping ingredients, and diamond powder, which helps blur and diffuse imperfections, and mineral pigments to soften and smooth skin. skin, as well as a photoluminescent complex that converts UV light to blue light to neutralize dark circles and brighten for a soft focus kind of glowy effect. It's supposed to be crease proof for up to 12 hours and hydrate for up to 24 hours. Now, I think a lot of people, including myself, were expecting more coverage from this just because Shape Tape gave a lot of coverage the original version. I would say this gives light medium to medium coverage at best. And while the finish is smooth and natural, when you look closely, you can see some reflective kind of glimmer particles. Whereas, you know, when you talk about the Valentino, they have that Roma light complex. You can't see those particles. Now, it does wear really well through the day, which is something the Shape Tape line is known for. I feel like even when I wear a corrector with this, I just don't get the coverage I want from it. I feel like my tear troughs, my hollows are just always apparent with it. And if you are concerned with texture or fine lines, those glitter particles, glimmer particles, even though they're fine, are not necessarily going to be your friend. There are other concealers I would choose over this with medium coverage like this one. And I don't know, this was just not my favorite. I always try to think of someone I would recommend these products for, just in case. Just because I don't like things doesn't mean you won't. If you have minimal dark circles and zero texture, that's who I think would benefit from this particular product. This is another highly requested review. I had never heard of this concealer until it showed up in my comments section. This is the Fièra Luxury Concealer. This I found on Amazon. It retails for $39.97. So if I didn't break these down or calculate price per quarter ounce, this actually would have been the first one I reviewed because it's the most expensive. But you get 0.5 ounces here, so it breaks down to $19.99 per quarter ounce. So you actually get a lot for your money. Now, there are only 5 shades available with this concealer. I'm not quite sure why they only offer 5 shades. After a lot of research, I landed on Natural Beige. The next shade up seemed like it would be way too light for me. This has a very thick, concentrated formula that you need to warm up between your fingers before you apply it to your face, to your under eye area. It kind of reminds me of the It Cosmetics concealer that's in a tube like this, or Amazing Concealer, if that's still around, if you ever use that product. It just has a really thick consistency. This is marketed as an anti-aging concealer for women over 40. It's supposed to be creaseless, hydrating, feel weightless, and look natural. And it has some skin benefiting ingredients in here: peptides, vitamin C, hyaluronic acid, and some other things to visibly plump, firm, blur lines, wrinkles, help the appearance of dark spots, hyperpigmentation, and brighten dark circles with continued use. Now, this kind of feels tacky when you first blend it out, but it does blend out fairly easily. And I would say this gives medium to full, very dewy coverage that on me is not creaseless. I talked earlier about how I always crease under my lash line. This concealer is no different. So I do have to set this concealer with the translucent powder. But creasing is not the only reason I need to set this concealer. The extremely dewy finish of this concealer looks really odd against the rest of my makeup if it's not set. You can see the right side of my face, nothing is set, not my under eye area or my face. And the other side of my face, I did set everything except for my under eye area. And if I didn't set my under eye, I just feel like it would look wet. Also, I've said this before in videos, I know as we get older, we're told to stay away from matte and go for radiance, but if you have texture or fine lines and you go for something that's wet or reflective or too radiant, it can actually emphasize those texture issues that you have going on instead of softly diffusing them. I'm not saying this necessarily does that. It's going to be an individual thing. You really have to look at what's happening, take photos, take videos, but sometimes extremely radiant products can actually have the opposite effect of what you want. Now, the texture of this is pretty tacky, and because I have to set it, I'm not sure if it kind of sticks to that powder and maybe takes away some of that coverage. But I find that even though this is buildable from medium to full, that every time I wear this, I feel like I look a little tired. Like you can still see a little bit of my discoloration, and my tear troughs don't seem as camouflaged as they usually are. However, this does feel creamy, it feels hydrating throughout the day, and it does wear really well during the day. Nothing ever looks dry or textured as the day goes on. I think since this was geared towards my age group, I had a lot of expectations for it, but for me, it's just fine. I didn't really fall in love with it. I know a lot of you are using it and you love it, and by all means, keep using it, keep loving it. It may be a different story for you if you don't have to set it too. That may be part of my issue. If you're over 40 and you aren't as crease prone as I am, and you want a dewy, hydrating, creamy concealer that wears well throughout the day, this is certainly worth looking into. You do get a lot of product for your money. It's readily available on Amazon, and there are a lot of people out there that really like it. A few months ago, I shared this concealer briefly in another video saying I was going to review it very soon. I'm not sure why there has been such a gap here, but here we are, the Physicians Formula Butter Glow Concealer. So I've already talked about my love for this, but you're getting your in-depth review and reasons why and seeing what it looks like on me. So this is $10 for 0.19 ounce. That breaks down to $13.16 per quarter ounce. There are 6 shades that are designed to span several shades. So the shade that I regularly wear is light to medium, and I have 3 other shades here. I have fair to light, medium to tan, and I have rich that I sometimes use as a contour shade. Quite a bit of product comes out on the wand, so I do scrape it off a bit before I apply any. Now this, kind of similarly to the IT Cosmetics product, has an applicator. So in addition to the doe foot, you have a little sponge here that you can use. Again, I prefer to use my finger. This has a very thin consistency and applies and blends out extremely easily. This is supposed to be nourishing and moisturizing. It's also made with illuminating minerals and a blend of a trio of butters made from the nutrient-rich Amazon. It's got fatty acids and provitamins that soften, condition, and moisturize your skin. It's also really nice for sensitive skin. This does have that Physicians Formula butter scent at first, but I find it dissipates. It doesn't bother me, especially being so close to the eyes. And I would say this gives a medium to medium full coverage. I wasn't expecting it to cover as well as it does with it being so thin. And I would say this is pretty self-setting. I only need a minimal amount of setting powder. If you're not prone to creasing, you probably won't have to set this at all. This is extremely lightweight and hydrating and gives a smooth, flattering, skin-like finish. It's very natural and great for any occasion because of the coverage, in addition to how smoothing and flattering it is. And it wears all day without emphasizing dryness or texture, which I get really excited about when I find products like that from the drugstore. Just based on experience, I find a lot of drugstore concealers and correctors can start to dry me out or emphasize texture as the day goes on. So when I find ones that don't, I get really excited. This is a great drugstore concealer for mature under eyes, or if you have dryness, texture, and fine lines. It's actually really great for any skin type. What concealer or foundation do you want me to review next? Let me know in the comments. Let me know if you've tried any of these and what your thoughts are. I also do foundation reviews. To see my latest, be sure to click here. I hope you found this helpful and beneficial. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.